The problem with the rich young ruler that we heard about in this story with Jesus is it's really not so much that he didn't keep certain commandments or he didn't follow the rules. It's not even the fact that when he was told to give his possessions away, that's not even the real reason why he failed in this encounter with Christ, why he failed this opportunity, and he walked away dejected. But first, one of the things we can see too is how cheap talk is. Like, I can say that I've done all these commandments, right? I can look at my life and have this sort of evaluation in my head of how I'm a good person, because we all have that, right? We all have this image in our head of how I'm a good person, right? And we'll uphold that in our head even when many of the facts of our life stand to contradict that, right? Because no one can think of themselves as sort of like a bad person, right? But when this rich young ruler is given something to do, right? He's given a test, right? He has to act out what he says. He says he's kept all these commandments from his youth up. He fails to be able to give all his wealth away. So the second thing that we pull from this is how powerful possessions are, and how what we decide to possess, right, always ends up possessing us. And so we're given sort of a great task before us is to be very careful about what we possess. And so the many commandments of Jesus to sort of like, deny yourself and take up your cross, or to give all of your wealth away to the poor, or, the first shall be last and the last shall be first, is all getting at this fundamental principle, which is that to the extent that we're willing to sacrifice everything is the extent to which we're free. Right? And whatever we're not willing to give up, that thing always has some sort of power over us. And so this desire to control or own things, right, becomes a block. It becomes this sort of wall between us and other people having any kind of sort of really authentic relationship with that person. Because the type of relationship that Jesus is trying to teach his disciples, and even in this moment, this rich young ruler who comes to him, is a way of relating to people that's not based on control or domination or possessing other people for ourselves, but allowing other people to be free, right? As much as God would like to set us all free of those things. And so instead of trying to own and control other people, right, that relationship is free. And instead of trying to own them, we're willing to do the opposite, which is to sacrifice and give everything of ourselves over to that person. And the extent to which we are willing to sort of empty ourselves out is the extent to which we'll be capable of being filled with love of that person and for that person, and the love of God, which makes that very love possible. And so this rich young ruler, his primary failing, right, is that he's thinking also, right, of this whole religious thing, this enterprise, as something that, one, can be somehow reduced or boiled down to simply rules and checklists, and that I did everything that was good. Two, that he thinks that he could ever actually arrive, right? Right? And this is always a temptation. Like, we want to sort of get to some place, maybe morally in our life, where we can say, well, I'm done, right? We all like to be able to get to a point where we can sort of like hang up our hat or sit on our laurels and sort of, I don't have to keep working anymore. Which what that means is we're all looking for some sort of bare minimum that we have to do, right? And sometimes we approach relationships like this. Like, what's the minimum? What's obligated of me? And I'm going to do just that. But you can see the kind of religiosity that Christ is sort of asking of this rich young man, and the kind of relationship that Jesus is demonstrating people can have with God and with each other, right, is one that's not asking the question, right, did I do enough? Right? It's not one that's asking the question, did I hit the minimum amount that I need to do. But this is often how we relate to people. It's how we relate, well, a lot of us, that's how we relate with our work, right, that we do. Maybe that's partly, permissible there. But we also do it with our faith and our religion. And the problem with that is that's always something that's holding back. If somebody asks you, do you want to marry me? And they're asking you, do you want to commit your life to me, to live and die with me? Do you want to say no and sacrifice every other potential relationship with other people, maybe who are even better than me, right? You're going to sacrifice all your future possibilities, right? And you're going to ask somebody to do that for you, and then you're just going to that person's going to just figure out how to do the bare minimum with you. Would you do life with that person under those terms? And the answer is no, you would not, right? So this is a great reminder of the real basis of loving relationships in this gospel of love that's given to us by Christ, right? Is to teach, right? Is to be taught how to love, to realize that to do that, we need to free ourselves from our possessions, but not just our possessions, but our spirit and attitude of possessiveness of things and of people, right? And to sort of forego this sort of delusion that we could ever possibly do enough in any relationship, because you can't. I mean, one great way to find out that you're not enough is to get married and have kids. And you'll find out really quickly that you're never enough for the people you love, right? And so this question of some sort of bare minimum or fulfilling obligations, and I know we do that more like subconsciously and sort of accidentally than we do intentionally, but we do it nonetheless, right? That thinking is incompatible with the kind of love that Christ wants to show us. Today we had the baptism of Dorothea, and one of the challenges is for parents is to sort of like raise them in the faith. And so what does it mean to raise them in the faith such that they don't end up like the rich young ruler, right? Who's kind of pharisaical, who feels a little bit entitled to his own faith and religion, and who's a bit arrogant and thinks he's actually arrived in some way. And the way that we pass on our faith such that our children can have lives that in whatever way they do have success, that success actually matters and means something in the bigger picture of life and in the meaning of life, right? Is simply this, right? Is to love your child the way that Christ loves you. And that is far, far more difficult than anything else, that you could do. It's like, how will it be that your children that you raise will want to practice and live the same faith and lifestyle that you live? Well, they have to see the fruits of your own life, right? They have to see their father and their mother loving each other and demonstrating what Christ-like love looks like. And if that's properly demonstrated, then the beauty of that life will be all the compelling and convincing that child will need. Because anybody who sees a community or a family or any people relating to each other in the truly beautiful manner of loving that Jesus shows us, right? One that's willing to forgive 70 times 7, one that's willing to suffer people even when they don't return that love and reciprocate it, that love, that loving each other and demonstrating that love in the household is exactly how you pass on to your children your faith. And you show them the right, true, and best way to live and move about in the world and to relate to people, is this manner of love. And so we do that. We come here and we celebrate this with rituals and prayers precisely because that task is so damn difficult. And it cannot be done on your own. It has to be done in a collective effort together to all commit, right, to this messy process that will require lots of forgiveness to learn how to love each other, right? So that we don't, in the face of an opportunity to love, which is always a call to sacrifice, that we don't end up like the rich young ruler and walk away. So that when we raise our own children of the faith, they don't walk away in the same way because they haven't seen the power of God's love properly demonstrated in their life, in the life of their families, in the life of their community. And so in this way, whether we're thinking about the children of our community or new people coming in, how we love each other and the state of our own soul and its capacity to love properly, to be able to set aside our own ego, matters for the salvation and the faith of other people in the church, right? Like, we're all tied in together. And so if I can learn to love better, that has an impact on you and our children. And so that's our task today, is to try to learn that love. And that's what the communion at this wedding banquet of an altar is a celebration of that love that Jesus has shown us, and give us the power of his Holy Spirit, right? Like we just saw with the sacrament of chrismation, the power of his Spirit to be able to accomplish that and act that out in this life. Glory to Jesus Christ.
Glory forever.